Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. News summary from Moscow program. Today is 5th of September. Now it's 12 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments. And hopefully, you will find the program informative and interesting, useful. And if so, dear friends, please don't forget to like the video and leave some commentary. This might and most likely will help to deal with this tremendously aggressive algorithm, by the way, to reach a wide audience, to the people that maybe want to hear about news from Russia. After news segment, I will join community chat for a little while. And before I start new segment, dear friends, I will just remind you that if you want to support my work, you can do it through several means. You can donate to this project from via PayPal or Boosty platforms. Also, you can subscribe on my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where I have extra content on quite a regular basis. And what else? There is a crypto option, and also during the streams, as it is right now, you can use a super chat feature on my Rumble channel. I'm streaming on both channels on YouTube and Rumble simultaneously, and you can use super chat feature or rant feature on Rumble to highlight any question or the comment that you might want, and same time donate to the project. And you can become premium subscriber there on Rumble. If you are interested, all the links, of course, are on this video in description box and will be in the pinned comment after live stream ends. And that's about it for intro, dear friends. I just had a great game on chess.com. I demolished my enemy, by the way, not enemy, opponent, let's say. And yes, I do need a couple of seconds to turn to news stuff. I guess majority of our community loves chess game. It's a wonderful game. And so, yes, dear friends, a lot of news to unpack. And I will start with, of course, summit of the so-called coalition of willing that took place yesterday in France. And after the summit, President of France, who is in big trouble, by the way, for many reasons, made a statement that 26 European countries have pledged to deploy troops in Ukraine. Well, no one among globalist controlled so-called elites in the West are asking Russian position, what Moscow thinks about it. But nevertheless, let me give you some summary of the statements that was made in Paris yesterday by French president. So 26 countries have pledged to deploy deterrent forces. Now they are calling it deterrent forces in Ukraine after the ceasefire. French President Emmanuel Macron said at the press conference following a meeting of the coalition of the willing in Paris. We have quotes here. Today, 26 countries have formally committed, and several more countries are still considering their position, but 26 countries have committed to deploying troops to Ukraine as a security force or to be present on the land, at sea, or in the air to ensure the security of Ukrainian territory and Ukraine immediately after ceasefire or peace is established. And their friends now they are using this formulation that they will deploy troops if ceasefire is reached or a long-lasting peace. But in reality, we all understand what is going on. They are preparing ground for actual deployment of the NATO troops on the Kiev-controlled territory, and we understand how this will go down. Russian president today once again made a statement how Russian side will treat NATO troops on the Kiev-controlled territory. I will get to that news a little late, but now let's continue with this one. So according to Macron, the coalition of willing will agree on U.S. participation in the coming days. The president of France added that it was possible to agree with Washington on introducing additional sanctions in the event of progress, in the event of no progress or absence of the progress on the Ukrainian settlement Later, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk clarified that Washington will not send troops to Ukraine even after the end of military operations there. The meeting of so-called Coalition of Willing took place on September 4 in a mixed format, chaired by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Macron. Vladimir Zelensky, head of Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev, was also presented there in person. US presidential envoy Steve Witkoff also took part, but he left the meeting 20 minutes after it began. Afterwards, the European leaders had talks with White House chief Donald Trump. And that is also interesting. Keir Starmer, by the way, according to a number of reports, including according to DD Geopolitics Telegram channel, announced that the so-called coalition of willing is prepared to supply Ukraine with long-range missiles too. So this topic of long-range missiles is becoming open topic for discussion in the collective West. They are no longer trying to hide their intentions, and they are saying it openly that they're gonna continue and further increase supplies of long-range weapon systems to keep this terrorist regime in Kiev. I will get to that point also later on, but let me give you a report on RIA Novosti, which is based on Reuters news agency, that Trump demanded from European during his conversation with these leaders of the coalition of willing via video link, European countries to refuse buying Russian oil. So details are that US President Donald Trump, in a conversation with European leaders, demanded that they stop buying Russian oil. Reuters report, citing unnamed representatives of the US administration. It's always unnamed sources, by the way, always. According to this unnamed source, the owner of the White House, Donald Trump, he is not an owner of the White House. Donald Trump also called for economic pressure to be exerted on China for the fact that Beijing allegedly supports Moscow in the context of the conflict in Ukraine. Finnish President Alexander Stubb confirmed this information. According to him, the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, agreed with Trump that Europe needs to stop exporting Russian energy sources. And by the way, well, they can, right? They can stop buying Russian energy, these European states, if they want to. I mean, it's not just Hungary, by the way, and Slovakia, as many things in the West that are still buying Russian energy sources, but it's also Western European states. According to reports that I saw a couple of days ago, France, for example, is the biggest buyer of the Russian LNG among European states. Is that counts or not, right? So, yes, US President Donald Trump, despite some separate statements that he is for peace and de-escalation and that kind of stuff, in reality, as I said yesterday, is engaged in a very same operation that he and his special envoy Witkoff were engaged during their so-called negotiations with Iran. It's a deception operation, by the way. They are trying to mislead the Russian side while using diplomacy as a tool of deception, right? And to cut off guard the Russian Federation, Russian leadership, because they are preparing massive escalation, unprecedented scale of escalation, which is going to happen in a very near future. I think maybe it's a couple of days from now, maybe a couple of weeks, but situation is clearly heading towards the massive escalation that collective West are gonna come up with against Russia. And there are time to time statements from Trump confirm this. He's pushing further towards the escalation. On one side, he's talking about the escalation. He has good relationships with Putin and with him, with this and that person. But when we dig in, it is becoming clear that Washington is pushing hard Europeans to further escalate, right? And this demand, for example, to cut all their ties with Russia is also one path towards the escalation, right? And one should keep in mind that just like a week ago, isn't it? US authorized, maybe a little longer than that, US authorized transfer of thousands, more than 3,000 cruise missiles to this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, which is definitely not a step towards the escalation, right? It's escalation. Although Washington same times tries to paint a picture that they are not involved, like they are standing aside, right? And it's all Europeans, while in reality it's US, by the way, that is still leading this proxy war against Russia. Let's not make mistake on that. And if you needed some more proofs that Washington is engaged directly in preparations of their unprecedented scale of escalation with Russia, look at the picture that Trump posted on his Truth Social yesterday after meeting or after conversation with those European leaders from this so-called coalition of willing. He posted this picture that was made in Anchorage, by the way. You remember when Russian President and Donald Trump were walking on a red carpet once they left plane. At one point, U.S. strategic bomber B-2 and a couple of F-35 fighter jets flew over, right? And Russian president took at the skies, and Trump did the same. And well, that's the picture that Trump posted. What he is hinting about, that they're gonna take a decapitation strike against Russia, as collective West usually does whenever they openly attack any country. What is the point of posting this picture? I mean, you tell me, dear friends, what you will make of it. But when I saw this picture, first what came to my mind, it was a B-2 bomber, right? Nuclear-capable bomber, by the way, that was flying over the Datar airfield at that particular moment, and both presidents were looking at that flyby, right, by B-2 and F-35. So what is the message that Trump wants to send? You remember he was hinting almost every other day last several weeks that, well, if he is not happy with Putin and with Russia, then we're gonna see that something gonna happen. So he was hinting constantly, by the way. It's not like we don't have indicators that Washington and their other NATO capitals are engaged in the preparations of our unprecedented scale of escalation. They are hinting about, right? Clearly. And this picture is a part of it, I think. As I said yesterday, by the way, I think it is now just too late to avoid next level of escalation. Miracles do happen time to time, and well, if miracle happened, well, things might change. But right now, as we speak, for 5th of September, it seems like next level of escalation is absolutely unavoidable. NATO countries under leadership of US will go ahead with their long-range strikes on Russia, with the massive long-range drone and missile strikes on Russia, with their sabotage operations inside Russia, and they will use all or almost all their assets that they have on Russian territory to orchestrate large-scale sabotage and terrorist attacks. And they will simultaneously go ahead with their cyber attacks on Russian infrastructure, on everything they can. They're gonna try to destabilize Russia big time with this massive scale assault that they are preparing. And hopefully we're not gonna find ourselves as Iran did just a little while ago, when on one hand Washington was engaged in a sort of negotiations, while in reality US President Donald Trump and his special envoy Steve Witkoff were actually engaged with Israelis in the planning of this deception operation, right? That was directed at that point to Iranian leadership, and they succeed, unfortunately, in that. And Iran sort of was caught off guard, isn't it? And unfortunately, Israel and US were quite successful in their attacks. And it was combined attack from the first day, obviously. They were quite successful, unfortunately, to kill a numerous number of Iranian scientists or military leaders. They try even to assassinate political and religious leadership of Iran, to decapitate, basically, system there, and they failed on that. They were unable to kill foreign minister of Iran, president of Iran, supreme leader of Iran, but they nevertheless did manage to kill quite a number of high-ranking officials, right? That's what happened. And they're clearly Clearly, they are planning to do something similar now, and hopefully we are ready. Hopefully Russia is ready to take all the necessary measures, not just to secure leadership of the system, right? Political leadership or military leadership, but to um, also to take all the necessary preventive measures to secure infrastructure from inevitable cyber attacks, massive cyber attacks, to minimize risks of internal sabotage activity by the assets of their Western secret services and Israeli secret services, and of course to retaliate, because they have to be and will be retaliatory strikes from Moscow. It's just absolutely inevitable. Only question I have personally is the scale of Russian retaliation and what type of weapons will be used. Conventional only or conventional and the nuclear? That's the only question I have right now. So, dear friends, I don't know how we can prepare for what is about to happen, but I mean, we should get ready. We should get ready for absolutely unprecedented scale of escalation. Doomsday clock is already closest to the midnight than ever before, and I guess for a reason. I guess for a reason. And when it comes to this long range strike that collective West is planning, I remind you, dear friends, that yesterday Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service has revealed information about German Chancellor Merz's orders regarding Taurus cruise missiles already supplied to Ukraine, to this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has given orders to conceal involvement in their supply of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. The press office of the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Russian Federation announced, according to agency, factory markings and are being removed from their missile components, and some individual parts have been completely replaced with the new ones without any markings whatsoever to disguise these weapon systems as not German made, but as made by Kiev regime, which is of course not gonna fool nobody, right? So they are getting ready. By the way, they are getting ready. They are preparing, and as I said, I don't think I don't think this escalation can be avoided at this point. Collective West is just invested too much in it, and only hope I have personally that there will be as minimum casualties as possible, and as a result of Russian inevitable retaliation, collective West or Western ruling class, globalists, neocons, Zionists, and whomever is in charge there and pulling the strings will learn the lesson and will finally come to terms that they have lost this proxy war with Russia and they have to capitulate. That's the only outcome of this confrontation that West initiated. They have to capitulate, and they will capitulate. It's only a matter of time, and how devastating for this world prolongation of this proxy war by Western ruling elites will be. But they will come when West will capitulate before Russia. It's just absolutely inevitable, by the way, right? And meanwhile, dear friends, it seems like significant parts of the society, I guess majority of the societies in the West, they have no freaking idea how close whole world is to disaster, potentially to extinction level event, and they are even joking around, they're messing around, right? And as an example, dear friends, as an example, let me give you some short video, right? And this video definitely highlights attitude, I think, of the Western public and the so-called elites towards the current confrontation that West has initiated. Just a short video, couple of seconds, but just listen to this, man. It's absolutely insane, I can tell you. It's a Fox News, a short video from Fox News, dear friends. Okay, seems like, oh, that's it, man. That's it. I find it. So, oh, come on, man. Sorry, dear friends, sir. I'm alone working with this whole freaking program.
Down a big old pipeline to China. It's supposed to be finished next decade and supply 15% of China's energy. Russia and China are glowing closer. Someone might have to bomb that pipeline like Nord Stream.
You see, brother. You see? And they think they're, this is a funny to talk about terrorist attacks on our infrastructure of two major nuclear superpowers in this world. How out of touch, by the way, these individuals have to be to mess around the topic. And this is Fox News, by the way. I mean, allegedly, Fox News is a sort of a ally, or supposed to be ally of America First people, right? And is there anything for America when on official level? And of course, this type of statements are not made randomly. It's not made randomly, by the way, right? Is there anything for America or US citizens, US society, if US will go ahead and blow up now power Siberia pipelines too? I don't think so, but this is the attitude, by the way. This is the attitude that Western societies in its majority and Western so-called elites do have, right? And you can imagine how dangerous that is. How dangerous that is. They have no freaking idea how close Western ruling class pushed this world to their midnight of that doomsday clock, to their extinction level event. Total insanity, by the way. Am I correct? This is not okay. This is not okay, but unfortunately, no one is challenging these freaking morons, by the way, in the West. Literally nobody. I mean, what the hell is wrong with Western societies, man? Don't they want to live? Really, I mean, don't they want to live, and their kids to live, and their grandkids to live? They all want to freaking die, man, or what the hell? It's insane, man. It's just insane. But yet again, Moscow was issuing warning after warning after warning after warning towards the West to behave adequately. But you have seen attitude of the West. This freaking moron from Fox News is representing basically Western societies and their majority. I mean, Western societies that are completely brainwashed and out of touch with reality, and Western elites. That's their attitude, by the way. That's their face, right? And unfortunately, there is only tiny part of societies in the West that are actually well-informed, understand that situation is very serious, but unfortunately, they have no influence, by the way. They have no influence on the processes, and members of our community are part of this informed minority, right? That they might try to wake up their fellow citizens, but they're not going to succeed, because how are they going to fight these monstrous propaganda tools that so-called elites there have? It's too dangerous, by the way. It's too freaking dangerous. But anyways, let me continue, dear friend. There are quite a more news, very important one, and well, another statements from a high-ranking official in the West, Secretary General of NATO, by the way, Mark Rutte, went to say yesterday that well, they should not. West should not take Russian president seriously. Should not make Putin too powerful. And according to Rutte, Putin is just like a governor of the Texas, no more. I mean, I have to give you video of this short video of statements of the Rutte, and then I will comment on that. I'm telling you, by the way, collective West nowadays looks like a freaking psychiatric clinic. Whole West, by the way, honestly, looks like a freaking psychiatrist clinic that went out of control. Just listen to this moron, man. He is simultaneously, he's trying to insult a Russian president, sort of, while in reality, he's that stupid that he is insulting Texans, right? And the governor of Texas. like while painting Texas as to be some nothing whatsoever. Like, no, don't take Putin seriously. It's like a governor of Texas. I mean, you think Texas is something to joke around? I don't think Texans gonna be happy with this attitude of Rutte. But anyway, let me give you this shorter video, by the way. Just look at it.
Interested in what Russia thinks about troops in Ukraine. It's a sovereign country. It's not for them to decide. I'm really amazed. I'm not criticizing you, but I hear this question, of course, more often. So thank you for asking the question. But I'm really amazed. Russia has nothing to do with this. It's the same like Finland then should have had a sort of a nod, a yes from Russia to join NATO? No, of course not. And Sweden? No. In the past, the fact that we founded NATO, we are sovereign nations. Ukraine is a sovereign nation. If Ukraine wants to have security guarantee forces in Ukraine to support the peace deal, it's up to them. Nobody else can decide about it. And I think we really have to stop making Putin too powerful. He is the governor of Texas, not more. So let's not take it too serious.
And there are some other idiots are uploading this statement of Rutte. It's insane, by the way. These statements of this clown is wrong on so many levels. First of all, he's comparing Finland and Sweden to Ukraine, which is wrong, because Finland and Sweden were incorporated in the anti-Russian coalition anyways for decades, right? And therefore, Russia did not really have much issue with that, because factually, de facto, not de jure, but de facto, both these countries, Finland and Sweden, were part of anti-Russian coalition. So therefore, Ukraine is different, right? But these criminals that represent the Western ruling class today, they are trying to mislead public as much as they can, and they are doing this absolutely nonsensical parallels. And then yet again, they love to talk about, I mean, it's a sovereign countries, and sovereign countries should decide for themselves what they will do and how and when. Okay, are you honest? Are they honest in that? Will they be okay if Russia will put troops in Canada or in Mexico? If things change in Canada and Canadian government says, you know what, US is threatening us, so I mean, Russia, can you bring some 100,000 of your troops? And if Russia did it, is it okay for US? Will US accept that? Well, Canada is a sovereign nation, and well, and what we can do? But no, man, they're gonna go wild. Washington gonna go completely crazy, right? And same if Russian troops end up in Mexico, or Chinese troops for that matter. So this is all speculations, by the way. Yes, countries have a right for security, but their security cannot be done on expense of security of other countries. This is also to be taken in account. We all understand that, but unfortunately, due to this tremendous propaganda of false narratives that collective West is pushing over the publics in the West, by the way, I mean, majority of people there is being brainwashed on such a scale that they are objectively not able to take the reality serious, to face the reality. It is what it is. And when it comes to comparing Russian president to a leader of Texas, well, I'm not even gonna go down how wrong that statement is. If I was a Texan, by the way, I would be outraged. What the heck is that attitude? Like it's like Texas is nothing. So don't take Putin seriously because he's like Texas, and Texas is nothing. What the hell, man? Also, dear friends, this attitude is quite telling in a sense that these so-called elites in the West still are seeing Russia as to be some gas station. Honestly, I mean, since 90s, they still are trapped in that false narrative that they themselves created, that Russia is a gas station. All Russia has or depends on is oil sales, right? While in reality, just a couple of days ago, dear friends, I shared with you some stats, isn't it, from Russia for the first 6 months of this year, and 73%, if I remember correctly, 73% of income in the federal budget was from sectors that have nothing to do with the energy sector. And to the end of this year, by the way, this number will reach 75-80% at least. That's what I was always saying, by the way. Oil and gas income for Russian budget for Russia is amounts to about like 20%, plus minus couple of percents there. That's it. 75-80% is other sectors of their economy. But nevertheless, the so-called elites in the West, political class, public figures, so-called media, is still to nowadays, by the way, are pushing this false narrative that Russia is a gas station. Don't take it seriously. Well, this would not end well for the West, by the way, I can tell you that. They will continue this way. They will continue mess around Russia, and then they're going to find out hard way how wrong they were. It is what it is, and we all understand, world understands, by the way, that it's not Russia that started this. It's West that started this, right? We will finish it on our terms. That's how it's going to be. And well, it's not just me that pay attention to these insane statements of Rutte, provocative insane statements of Rutte, but also professor, I mean, well known, by the way, a professor, quite frequent guester, I believe, on Judge Napolitano's show. And I want to give you a short clip of his reaction to.
I'd say a definition of insanity is detachment from reality. And everything that Mr. Rutte said and that you have put on air would indicate that he needs a padded cell. The man is not spreading propaganda, he's spreading insanity. What he said.
And it is true. He's way beyond propaganda. This Rutte is spreading straight up insanity, right? It's true, and this is by the way, of course, Professor Gilbert, doctoral, right? Many of you are familiar with this person. Of course, he's quite frequent guest on RT and also on Judge Napolitano's show, on other sources. So let's continue with his response.
That Russia is, that Mr. Putin has the strength of the governor of Texas is utterly ridiculous. Now, Mr. Obama, in his worst days, said that Russia was a regional power. He didn't say that Russia was Texas. I understand that Mr. Rutte could be deranged. After all, he spent 15 years or more as the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. In the 1990s, when Russia's economy collapsed, it was widely observed, with some humor, that the whole of the Russian economy was the size of the Netherlands economy. I think Mr. Rutte is caught in a time warp. He thinks it's still the 1990s. He is ignoring the fact that Russia is now the fourth largest economy in the world, as measured by price parity, and it is the largest economy by far in Europe. Yes. In this circumstance, to speak about Russia and Mr. Putin's country as having the weight of Texas shows that the man is deranged.
Yes, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? And I don't think our community will argue with the professor, you know. And there are people like Rutte, by the way. It's people like Rutte that are pushing this world, collective West, Western countries, and also whole world towards disaster. And only hope, unfortunately, only hope we have, all of humanity, by the way, is that Western societies will wake up somehow and realize what is going on. But unfortunately, they are just refusing to wake up to the truth. It's sad, man. It's sad and extremely dangerous. Anyways, dear friends, let me continue with some more news. And Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky, head of Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev, is of course emboldened big time with all the support that he is getting from globalist control regimes from the collective West. And well, he reacted on Russian president's initiative to visit Moscow a couple of days ago. Russian president, while being in Beijing during the press conference, stated that Zelensky can visit Moscow if he is serious about negotiations, if he is ready to have a meaningful negotiations. And today, by the way, Russian president is already in Russia, in the Far East, and he is participating in an economical forum that is taking place in Vladivostok. I reported about this forum yesterday, and Russian president made statements today, very serious statements, and I will go through those statements in a minute. But he once again extended his invitation to Zelensky and said, if he is ready, and he is talking about these talks with Putin constantly, right? So he can come to Moscow, and Russia will guarantee his safety and security, right? He don't have to have any fear that something will happen to him, not on Russian territory. In the West, maybe, in the Kiev-controlled territory, very well possible, but once he is crossed even a centimeter of Russian territory, Russian side will guarantee his safety and security, while on a diplomatic mission, right? But Zelensky rejected their peace talks with Putin, and his excuse is that according to him, if you want to have a negotiations with Putin, then you have to invite this opposite side to Moscow. I mean, what kind of excuse is that? Yes, you want to talk, come to Moscow and have a conversation. It's simple, right? And Russian president, as I said, made a statement that Zelensky's security and safety will be guaranteed. So he is serious about it, by the way. Putin is serious about it. And let me give you another short video about this statement exactly. Let me just find that video, by the way. That's it.
The judicial system in Ukraine is virtually no longer existent. It's been exterminated. And this is just one more illustration of the so-called democratic nature of the Ukrainian regime. So this is an everlasting process that leads us into nowhere. But nonetheless, we have confirmed that we are ready to have meetings on the highest level. But look, Ukraine wants to have this meeting. They are suggesting we have this meeting. My answer was, I'm ready. Please do come. I guarantee you we will take care of security matters and we create good working environment. You have my word, 100% guarantee. But what we see is that Ukrainian side is saying, we want to have a meeting with you, but you go to a particular location for this meeting. Well, I guess they're asking for too much. So I will repeat, if somebody wants to meet us, we are ready. And the best time to have this meeting is the capital of Russia, the hero city of Moscow.
That's it. Russian president extended invitation, and they also publicly made statement that Zelensky's security will be guaranteed. So what is the issue? But we know what is the issue, isn't it? Globalist control regimes in the West were never serious about ending this proxy war against Russia. All they wanted is a break for their proxy Kiev regime and Kiev regime's forces, right? Because they are desperate, by the way. They are losing battle. They are losing on the battlefield, right? They need a break. And they were asking for a ceasefire exactly for that reason. And Moscow said, no. If you want to end the conflict, okay. I mean, we are all about reaching long-lasting peace. But if you want some temporary measures to use this break against us, we're not going to give you such opportunity. It's just that simple, right? But anyways, by the way, we all know West was just messing around with these false narratives that they want peace. Zelensky wants peace. He wants to talk to Putin. This is all dirty games that they are playing, right? We can count it as a complete deception operation. But Russian president today, while participating in the work of this Eastern Economical Forum in the Far East of Russia, made additional very important statements, dear friends. So let me give you some key points from his speech there. And well, RIA Novosti is reporting that according to Putin, it will be impossible to reach agreement on key issues with Kiev. According to Putin, so it will be virtually impossible to reach agreement on the key issues with the Ukrainian side. President Vladimir Putin said at their plenary season of the Eastern Economical Vladivostok Economical Forum, Eastern Economical Forum roadmap, read about. Sorry, dear friends. We have quote here from President. It is practically impossible to reach an agreement with the Ukrainian side on the key issues, even if there is a political will, which I doubt. There are legal and there are technical difficulties, which consist in the fact that any agreement on the territories must be confirmed in accordance with the Ukrainian constitution in a referendum. But for this, martial law must be lifted. So when President said that is almost impossible to reach agreement on the key issues with Kiev, he is referring to legislation on Kiev controlled territory, Ukrainian constitution, and the need to lift martial law and to conduct then referendums, right? So this is a process, and on the current situation, when Zelensky is refusing to even discuss on a serious level either elections so that Ukraine's president will have legitimacy, or about referendum. Zelensky don't want to hear nothing of that. And that is a globalist don't want to hear anything about it, right? And of course, in such circumstances, while globalists and Kiev regime is also refusing to lift martial law, it is technically impossible to have any agreements, reach any serious agreements, right? Also, Russian president went to say that Ukraine recently ruled out the possibility of contacts with Russia, and now Ukraine itself is asking for this. And this is also true, dear friends. Zelensky, while having some sort of legitimacy before his presidency expired, issued a decree banning any negotiations with the Russian side. And that decree is still in force, right? So any negotiations with Russian Federation by Kiev regime is illegal based on Ukrainian system, right? So therefore, it is necessary, this decree of Ukraine's former President Zelensky to be annulled, right? So that any agreements that will be reached will have a legitimacy behind it, right? And also, it is tremendously important that whoever is going to be, for example, if agreements are reached on anything, whoever is going to be representative of Kiev to sign up for this agreement to have a legitimacy. And Zelensky is not that person. Russia might talk to him, president might talk to Zelensky, but not as with the president of Ukraine, legit president of Ukraine, but as a representative of the Kiev regime. And Russian foreign ministry, I believe, was very clear on that too, that Russia acknowledges that Zelensky de facto is a leader of the regime there, right? De facto leader, but he is not legit president of Ukraine. Anyways, few more statements from Russian president. Among them, one very important statement, by the way. All statements are important, but one is, should be taken very seriously by Western ruling elites. Every country has the right to choose how to ensure its own security, but such issues are not resolved without regard for Russia's interests. Security guarantees must be developed for both Moscow and Kiev. And this is topic about root causes of the conflict. Russia will fully implement the agreement on a long-term peace if they can be reached. There is no point in a foreign military presence in Ukraine after a peace agreement has been reached, Russian president said. Russia has never objected to Ukraine's desire to join EU. This is its legitimate choice. Yanukovych did not refuse to allow the country to join the European Union, but wanted it to happen on acceptable terms. And also, dear friends, Russian president went to say that foreign troops on Kiev-controlled territory will be designated as a combatants. Russian side once again, on the level of president, make it clear that if coalition are willing, or whichever coalition, NATO or whatever, by the way, if Western countries will send their troops on Kiev-controlled territory, Russian side will designate them as combatants and will take action. As for possible military contingents in Ukraine, this is one of the primary reasons for drawing Ukraine into NATO. Therefore, if some troops appear there, especially now during the military operation, will proceed from the fact that this will be legitimate targets for Russian troops, and they will be destroyed. Basically, that's what Russian president said. And let me give you short video of that statement too, dear friends. The statement was made today by Russian president during a participation in this Eastern Economical Forum. So let me find the video itself now. That's the video, dear friends.
Placement of the troops in Ukraine. Well, that was one of the root causes for the Ukrainians' desire to join NATO. So should there any troops be placed in Ukraine, especially now in the course of the military action, we would treat those as righteous goals for an attack, a righteous target that we will aim for.
I mean, is Russian president clear enough? Is Russian president clear enough, by the way? Some other high-ranking officials also made similar statements before on numerous occasions that NATO troops, under whatever disguised on Kiev-controlled territory, will be designated as combatants and will be eliminated. And well, Russian president is very clear, very directly, is saying there, basically saying that NATO troops, or any troops, by the way, on Kiev-controlled territory, will be a legit target. Question is if either Washington or London or Brussels, Berlin, Paris, Rome and others will listen, if they will listen to Russian president. That's the question, and I'm afraid they're not going to listen. They're not going to listen, by the way.
Should there be any arrangement that would allow us to achieve long-lasting peace, then I see no point for those troops to be positioned on the territory of Ukraine. As simple as that. If all the arrangements are achieved and the agreement is successful, no one should doubt that Russia would fully comply with the achieved arrangements. We shall treat the security guarantees with respect, and those are the security guarantees that have to be elaborated and work both for Russia and Ukraine. And just to reiterate, Russia will undoubtedly comply with those arrangements. But so far, nobody has discussed the security arrangements and assurances with Russia. Well, then all we have to do is wait. The time will show, I guess.
Okay. So that's the Russian president's very important statements, by the way. Very important statements. One might hope that globalist control regimes in the West will listen to Russian president, to his warnings, and began de-escalating now without going any further in their provocations against us. But we all understand the chances that Russian president will be heard in the West is next to none, right? So unfortunately, therefore, as I said in the beginning, we should expect unprecedented scale of escalation that will be done by the West against Russia in upcoming days, weeks, potentially. After which Moscow will have no option really but to retaliate, and retaliate with such a force that after that retaliation, globalists, neocons, Zionists, and whomever is pulling the strings in the West, and the Western regimes that are controlled by these forces will have two choices, only two choices. Either they are de-escalating with Russia, acknowledging that they tried to destroy Russia and lost the war, and in that case they will begin de-escalating, accepting basically Russian terms, and they will capitulate. That's the one option. Another one, they will all die. That's it, by the way. They will have these two clear choices. If they will go ahead with their next phase of escalation in Russia, after our retaliation, they will have these two clear choices. Either all of them will die, or they will capitulate. That's it. It's clear as day, by the way, that this is their situation, right? We will see. We will see. And I think they will choose to leave. I think they will choose to leave, and that means they will capitulate.
Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.